The webinar will start at 6:30, so please join 5 minutes before that. The webinar will start at 6:30, so please join 5 minutes before that. The webinar will start at 6:30, so please join 5 minutes before that. The webinar will start at 6:30, so please join 5 minutes before that.
हाँ भाई घर पे भाई अरे यार तेरे को लिंक भेजा ना मैंने लिंक पे देखने का है अपन को दिखेगा ना रात को 3 के बाद। नहीं तेरे को दिन भर रात भर दिखेंगे पूरे 8 के बाद। नहीं नहीं नहीं, आज रात 9 से बाद तेरे को दिखेंगे। पीक जो है वो आज रात को 3 बजे। नहीं तेरे को दिन भर रात भर। नहीं नहीं, आज रात 9 से बाद तेरे को दिखेंगे। पीक जो है वो आज रात को 3 बजे। हाँ भाई, मैं तुझको थोड़ी देर में फोन करूँगा, वो बैठना चाहिए। तो तुझे क्या है अभी? नहीं नहीं नहीं, मैं तो लिंक भेजता हूँ। अभी मैं बात किया ना, तो भेजना नहीं भेजा, इसलिए मैं ठीक है ठीक है। हाँ, मैं
The webinar will begin at 6:30.
Hello, this is Makran from Manhattan. How you guys are doing?
Welcome, Makran. This is
Welcome, Makranji. Pooja this side. Welcome, Rajenji.
hello.
A very good evening.
Very good evening.
Amrita ji would be a little late. Oh, because her timings were clashing. It's I think 6 o'clock early morning there. So should I call her once? What do you suggest?
Yeah. Hers is the first presentation, right?
Hers is last. The third one. Third one.
And who is the first?
First is Makranji, then you.
Okay.
Yeah. And principal ma'am is just joining. She just messaged me. She'll be just joining.
And you can just message her
Okay.
that you have begun, so that she gets ready by the time her turn comes.
Okay.
Yep. What is the time allotted for each speaker? 20 minutes or 25 minutes?
25. 25.
25. And
Yeah.
the question answer will be at the last, right?
Yes. Last.
Recording,
Hi.
Pooja, you will be recording this?
Yes, it is getting recorded.
Yeah. Okay,
Ajay.
okay.
Yeah.
Because I don't have to then record separately.
I don't think so. Harshita, it's being recorded, right? Harshita?
Yes, Sangram also, I think
Sangram?
he's recording.
Yes, ma'am, it's
Sangram,
being
are you around?
recorded.
Okay, okay. Then you
All
can
right,
send me
all
the
right.
files later.
Welcome, Anjan. Hi, all fine?
Hello, yeah, Makranji.
A very,
Will be starting
yeah, I can
recording
see
now.
Malini. A very warm welcome, Malini. I would like to introduce Malini Sharma from our department. She's the head of the Department of Economics Department.
Namaste.
Hello everyone.
Namaste from New York.
Hello everyone. Welcome to you all.
So, 40 लोग आ गए हैं,
Hmm.
बढ़िया
50,
है, अच्छा
50.
है,
It is 50 now.
अच्छा.
Okay. A very yes,
Pooja
a very
madam.
yes.
Pooja madam.
अंजन चक्रवर्ती जी, आप तो फोटो में अलग दिखते हैं और स्क्रीन पे तो बहुत स्मार्ट दिख रहे हैं। मुझे लगा कि कोई एकदम खूंखार प्रोफेसर होंगे।
From South Africa, Mr. Rena is joining. Just check whether he will join.
Welcome.
Need to be mentioned especially.
Very warm
Hello.
welcome, Mohanji.
Pole
Mohan
ji.
Pole sir. Very
Bhoot
warm
Uncle saying
welcome.
hi. Who's the little one? आपके छोटे मॉडल का क्या नाम है? We can't hear you. आपका माइक्रोफोन ऑन करिए।
हाँ, पूर्णिमा.
Yes.
This is Dr. Ashid Iqbal from Kashmir.
A very warm welcome, Arshad from Kashmir.
Thank you.
Yeah. Good to see
Anjan,
you here.
Your microphone is also off, I think. Or does
Tanveer,
it come
very
on
warm welcome to
automatically?
you.
Yeah, I just put on my microphone.
Okay.
So-
Can anybody tell me, like, if they can see what's behind me?
Yes, we all
Yeah, a
can
lot of
see.
sanitizers and everything.
Because I see a very small window. You know, I don't see myself, but I guess I can do this little bit, and you can all see that, right?
If the meeting is yet to start, if you are willing, I will show you something outside my window.
Whomsoever was speaking has to speak a little louder.
Arshad, were you saying something?
No, basically, I was saying that if the meeting is yet to start, then I want to refresh you by showing something outside.
Okay, there is time because we are waiting for principal ma'am, so you can show. Go ahead. Hello.
हिमालय दिख रहा है, वाह! Let me see if I can enlarge this.
This is just outside my window.
धन्यवाद.
This is the beauty of Kashmir Valley.
वाह! अभी वहाँ सूर्यास्त हो रहा है, यहाँ पर सूर्योदय हो रहा है।
यही बात है.
A very warm welcome, Arthur from Spain. So good to see you. Hi.
There is somebody like whose camera we actually see a fan and the ceiling. पंखा दिख रहा है. Whomsoever is right in the left corner.
So different time zone, but at the same platform.
Yes, wonderful to have everybody. Now we have 80 people.
Yeah, it's increasing in leaps and bounds. So 82.
Yes.
Possibly it will cross 150, I suppose, isn't it, Pooja?
I don't know. Let's see, because there are 2 sessions. They will be distributed probably. They may be distributed.
So Rajendra ji, namaste.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Good evening. Mohan ji, namaste.
Yes. Dr. Mohan has joined. I see Makra. Yes. And I had sent invitation to my old classmate, Mr. Ashwin Mahajan. He's a CEO of a export company in Bengaluru. There is a professor from South Africa. He is about to join. He had told me, Dr. Rena. It is 6:35.
Pooja, are you moderating? Hello. Hello.
His microphone is off.
A very warm welcome, Principal Ma'am. Dr. Savita Roy is here, our Principal, Dolatham College.
Good evening, all of you.
Good evening, ma'am. So good to see you here.
Yeah, same here. I think we need to start now. We have
Yeah.
all the speakers.
Yeah, probably we wait for some more time, or
Yeah.
as you suggest.
Yeah, we can wait.
5 more minutes. One speaker is left, actually. One speaker is not there.
Okay, let him join.
I think Amita Paul, she used to she yet to join, isn't it?
Yeah, I have messaged her. Actually, it's 6 o'clock in the morning for her. 6 a.m. So, should I call her?
She's in which country?
She's San
She's
Francisco.
in United States. She's at California.
Okay.
California.
So they are 3 hours behind. So it's around 6 in the morning. अभी जैसे यहाँ 6:30 बज रहे हैं, वहां पर सुबह के 6:30 बज रहे हैं.
I'll just give a call.
Yeah.
I think And she has sent a message that 7:30 she will join. So 7:30 means an hour later, 45 minutes later.
Okay.
So should we continue? We continue then?
Yeah, we should start the session.
We should start. A very good evening and a warm welcome to all our esteemed panelists and participants. It is my pleasure and honor to announce the opening of two-day international webinar on or mapping energy, environment and recycling, organized by Daulat Ram College IQAC, University of Delhi in collaboration with Tilottama Foundation and Jadavpur Association of International Relations, JAI, Kolkata. We have received overwhelming participation from across borders, Manhattan, San Francisco in US, Norway, Indonesia, Bangladesh, Spain, Nepal. We are fortunate to bring together researchers, academicians, students, and various other stakeholders belonging to various places in India, like Aurangabad, Uttar Pradesh, Burdwan, Guwahati, Kolkata, Bodh Gaya, Udaipur, New Delhi, and many more. The so we start. I introduce the theme of the conference. Webinar: the unprecedented catastrophe of formidable pathways for development. The challenges of sustainable development have been realized more than ever before. The notion of clean environment and sustainable development should reach the core of individuals and be reflected in their habits and lifestyle. Apart from undergoing energy transition and adopting renewable and clean energy sources, it is equally imperative mobilize the disposal of wastage generated on the account of production and consumption. The pattern of production and consumption by society needs a massive transition to incorporate significance of environmental sustainability. Therefore, the notion of waste disposal and a concept of recycling must be instigated effectively in such a manner that is not only aligned with the idea of sustainable development but also becomes employment generating business proposition, benefiting a large section of society. In this backdrop, a two-day webinar is organized by Daulat Ram College, University of Delhi in collaboration with Tilottama Foundation and JAI, Jadavpur Association of International Relations, will provide useful deliberation and way forward. Now, this entire session webinar is organized under two panels. First panel on first day is titled COVID Pathways to Sustainability. Will highlight all the issues related to sustainability. While day two panel titled Mapping Energy, Environment and Recycling will highlight role of renewable energy in rural accessibility. The significance of recycling and waste disposal will be discussed in panel 2 on day 2. Now, I would request our principal, Dr. Savita Roy, Daulat Ram College, University of Delhi, to give her welcome remarks. A very warm welcome to you, ma'am. Over to you, ma'am. Ma'am, you have to switch on your mic.
Thank you, Pooja. The collaboration of SRI, the Tilottama Foundation, with the Daulat Ram College and Jadavpur Association of International Relations has brought all of us together to discuss a very, very relevant question, and that is the question of sustainability. And this has become more important and relevant because of the pandemic that we are facing nowadays. If we remember, our society initially was largely made up of our society. By that I mean the Indian society was largely initially was made up of small villages who were all self-sustained. We never heard of people specially employed or disposing of such enormous waste. I don't remember even our parents and the grandparents had ever had problem of disposal of enormous waste that was generated in household. Industries also were not so many, but the village was a self-contained unit, and life was simple, demands were simple, and we were satisfied with small happiness and the small gains. Then the society changed with the industrial revolution, and also many of the tasks which was labor intensive was shifted to the machines, and therefore we all became uh, like consumer of those products which were generated in the industrialized cities, and the attention somewhere without any planning shifted from a self-sustained unit of a village to a larger cities. We never had planned those kind of challenges that were supposed to come up. Nobody had ever imagined that the environment that was taken for granted in the early 17, 18 centuries. Nobody used to talk of those environments. Even after the Industrial Revolution in England, nobody could have imagined that this would be a global situation. So the environment that was destroyed during the beginning of 18th century, and India corresponding time was very, very much not affected with such kind of problems. So we have got a very old saying. It is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. The entire earth is our Vasudha, is our family. If one person in the family is sick, the entire family is disturbed. The balance is disturbed. You will not be able to carry out your normal activity. Similar is our nation, our country, and the entire world. If in one corner of the world something happens, it is immediately transferred to, the rippling effect is transferred to the other nations. So now we are not to be divided. We should not recognize the geographical boundaries, because the problem, if it arises at one place, it is affecting across the globe. The best example of this, I think, was the communication revolution that we had, the internet revolution, which connected all of us together. We don't recognize the boundary. I can chat all of you, I can see all of you, and I can hardly feel any distance. So distances have gone, the country boundaries have melted away, and so are the problems. If there is a problem somewhere in India, you will feel the rippling effect in America. You will feel the same effects in the European countries. So we now, as a human being, have to understand our old saying that entire earth is a family, and we have to live like a family. Each entity in the family is very, very important. You have to take care of your plants, you have to take care of your animals, you have to take care of your water, you have to take care of your air and earth equally well. And the best example of this is we were unlocked. We were unlocked till February. All of us were living in outside. We were roaming around in our vehicles, doing all our work without any hindrance. Suddenly came the lockdown period, wherein all the human beings were locked inside the house, thereby unlocking the entire nature. You can see the environment being clean, rivers being less polluted, at least in India. I can see the birds moving around. I can see the animals freely roaming around. So what is happening? In a family, we were the ones who were exploiting the nature. We were the one who were not allowing the sustainable development to happen. And once we were locked inside, the environment has unlocked itself. And this is a lesson that one has to learn from this pandemic, COVID-19. And very important part of this is how after this is going to be taken care of, after the pandemic is over, where will we start from? The problems the world has faced, since the beginning of this pandemic till the end, which is I can't foresee as far as the education sector is concerned to be getting over very fast. How we are going to overcome these issues? I look forward to your guidance. I look forward to the outcome of this particular webinar, wherein I would like the suggestions should be there, wherein we can know what will be our new normal. How are we going to see the world after the pandemic is over? How is the children going to be affected? And what are the measures to sustain the environment? This particular discussion to some logical, I hope, the guidelines we can have. So with this, I congratulate the 3 organizers who have organized, taken pains to organize such a wonderful webinar, and I look forward to all your talks. And I also welcome all the speakers, though Pooja, you are supposed to introduce them first. So I look forward to all of you in different sessions, and my best wishes to all of you for the future in this pandemic situation. Stay healthy, stay happy, stay inside. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for such encouraging and enlightening words. Now, with this, we open day 1, the panel 1 for day 1. I mean, there's only one panel. And the title of the panel is COVID Pathways to Sustainability. The talks aligned in this panel are devoted to streamline the COVID pathways to sustainability. This panel aims at highlighting sustainable pathways and solutions in the present context of health catastrophe, emphasizing the role of business value development and software industry in the process of achieving sustainable growth. The panel will be chaired by Dr. Anjan Chakravarti. Now, Dr. Anjan Chakravarti is presently working as Associate Professor, UGC Human Resource Development Center, University of Burdwan. His areas of research interest are agrarian Bengal, development economics, sustainable development, and Northeast India. He has authored 3 books on development issues. He completed 6 national and international projects. He contributed more than 50 research articles in the various national and international journals. He delivered lectures in various premier institutes of national and international eminence. He regularly contributes economic commentaries in Multidimensional magazine published from France. He also serves as visiting professor in various Indian universities. His hobby is painting. With this, we move to the first speaker. Let me have this opportunity of introducing our panel. Our first panelist is Makran Booth. Now, to introduce Makran Booth, I would like to present a small slide. And just 1 minute, I will share the screen here. Hope it is visible. Is it visible?
Yes.
All right. So I'm introducing Makran Booth as first speaker of the panel. Makran Booth is one of the first LEED accredited professional architects to certify green buildings and products. LEED is licensed in energy and environmental development. He's a achiever of extraordinary ability EB1, a status genius, UN World Habitat Award, and numerous citations of his design building, housing, hospitals, and complex. His innovative projects are for combining community, corporate, and industry innovation across North America and India, providing project consultancy, training, climate adaptation, and disaster resilience services to several countries in Southeast Africa, in China, Colombia, Ecuador, EU, Haiti, Singapore, UAE, and United Kingdom. Now, Makran Booth is director of PATH, which is Professional Alliance for Technology and Habitat. He's a founder of architect Makran Booth and Associates. Starting his early life from tribal and remote area, he acquired education in India from IIT Jaipur and Maulana Azad Institute of Technology, Bhopal. he is hardworking and dedicated person. His zeal to learn took him to Harvard University, Illinois Institute of Technology, IIT Powai, and Kansas State of University. He also studied climate change science at Columbia University of New York. He's an ardent supporter and follower of Gandhian principle. Presently, he has taken up initiative of Satyagraha, promoting weapons of mass protection. Inspired by Gandhian principle, he's on a Satyagraha to spread the message of sustainability among masses. The first phase of fasting lasted from till 27 days, from 25th May to 21st June. Second phase will start from 15th August. He's fasting at Gandhi Statue and Garden, which is a part of Union Square Park, New York. There are certain links which are there, which show us the entire agenda and the entire initiative run by him. So I quickly move so that he has more time to explain. He wants to equip humanity with the weapons of mass protection in this pandemic. He promotes various things which he will elaborate soon when he after my presentation. Various things which are very much localized and available. In his initiatives of no yoga, he promotes using of localized produced yoga mats, which are Swadeshi. This is certain pics of Makran with Stephen Hawkins, Sri Ravi Shankar ji, and some of the old memories clubbed together for Makran ji. A very warm welcome to Makran, sir. So I stop here, stop sharing here, and give the. I invite Makran ji to start his presentation.
Okay. What do I do?
You're audible, sir. Or you're audible.
Do I go on my camera?
It's on. It's on.
You guys can see me?
We can see you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I can't see me myself, but let me see if I can do that in the small window. Yes, now I can see myself. मैं हिंदी में बोलूं कि इंग्लिश में बोलूं? मैं ऐसा करता हूं कि मैं थोड़ा हिंदी में भी बोलूंगा, थोड़ा इंग्लिश में भी बोलूंगा. Or if I'm waving my hand, you can see it, right? So there is a video, right? Hello.
Yeah.
Okay. There's that little video. Is it possible to show that?
Yeah, I will make it available soon. Just give me 5 minutes.
Is that a little later? Okay.
Yeah, a little later.
It's pretty amazing, actually. We all coming together, and this is actually new norm. We recently had some weddings, which were online. We are celebrating our birthdays online. So this interaction which we are having, I think what's going to happen is one thing. What we have done. I'm being here in United States. I go back and forth to India very often, and my profession is it's architecture, and I'm also an environmental scientist. A lot of experience working in disasters. So as soon as there was a blast in Beirut, we immediately there were a lot of people we were interacting. What's going on? And how is the situation? However, one of the interesting thing here is some of the basic fundamentals how we deal with this pandemic are actually with us, and right from the beginning, from day one, we all knew, it was all told to us, wash your hands, right? And then you sing for 20 seconds and then you wash your hands. But there is a problem with that. Problem is, it's not about washing hands, it's about soap. So what happens is, when you use soap, it actually just doesn't wash away the germs, but the cell wall of the virus, there is like a fatty layer. जैसे हम लोग कोई बर्तन मांजते हैं तो थोड़ा तेल रहता है उसमें, जब साबुन लगाते हैं तो धुल जाता है अच्छे से. So that's exactly what happens. The cell has a lipid layer, it's a fatty layer, and so breaks it. So it's not just washing it away, it just annihilates the virus. वो उसका पूरा बैंड बाजा बजा देता है, उसमें कुछ भी नहीं रहता. And what happens is, that's the best thing you can do. वो ब्रह्मास्त्र है, So इसके पहले कि वो वायरस हमारे अंदर आए, उसके बाद में उसका म्यूटेशन हो, अगर हम उसको धो देते हैं तो उसका पूरा खात्मा हो जाता है. तो ये एक सबसे पहली बात है. और मैंने यहाँ पे बहुत सारे साबुन की दुकान लगा रखी है कि नहीं. तो कोई भी साबुन हो, उसमें कोई डेटॉल का साबुन या एंटीबैक्टीरियल साबुन, इसकी कोई जरूरत नहीं है ना. बट्टी साबुन, कपड़ा धोने का साबुन, शैम्पू. अब आप देखेंगे कि somebody is from Arab, like you are in Abu Dhabi, or like you are in a tribal area like Bastar, and like you are in Odisha, Bengal, you go to Bardhaman, you get off the station, like so you go to a remote place, जहाँ पे postman भी हफ्ते में एक बार जाता है. Even that place, you can go and buy gutka, and then वो gutka, you're gonna get for 10 rupees, but for 1 rupee, you get shampoo, Vatika ka shampoo, Clinic Plus, Sunsilk, the best shampoo ever, you get just for 1 rupee, and that thing is universally available everywhere. जब हम लोग बचपन में, हम लोग एक बस्तर में एक बहुत आदिवासी क्षेत्र में थे, और हमारे पिताजी के साथ हमारे चौथी पांचवी में हम लोग अपना साबुन खुद बना लेते थे. So this is something very important, that first point, that soap, it kills the virus. And not just hands, you can wash anything. You can wash hands, you can wash handles, you can wash handrails, and anywhere like you put the soap, it's gonna just kill the virus. So now that comes to the second thing, which is about mask. Now what happens is, this mask, there is a lot of debate. On one side we have our Pradhan Mantri Modi ji, he wears this mask, so he wears the gamcha, I love this gamcha, but what happens is, the President of United States, he refuses to wear a mask. And then we have so many of these masks, all kind of this mask, like which are this N95 masks, and this mask and that mask. There's no other use of this. So I'm coming to, when we look at our title, which says, starts with COVID, but ends with recycling, right? What we gonna do with this? There is no other use of this, So already, मेरे यहाँ पूरा एक दुकान बन गया है ये mask का. But what I'm actually also doing is I'm using the gamcha, and you call it gamcha, you call it scarf, you call it dupatta, you call it hijab, you call it naqab, you call it kufiya, you call it pallu, you call it pancha, you can call it tauliya, whatever you call it, this is very useful. It's not just because you are not just using it as a face cover. It's a very effective mask. Not only this covers your mouth and nose, but it can cover your ears, it can cover your hair, and from all of these places we have the virus going in and also virus coming out. So when you cover that, even if you cover this way, even if you cover that way, you're gonna reduce the viral load. That's the fundamental thing. So any mask you use, a Sutli mask, this N95 mask, this surgical mask, whatever you want to use, you can use, but you should use it. The best thing, अभी गर्मी है तो कोई सोचता नहीं है, but this muffler, come thandi, you're not gonna have like 5 different things. Same your gamcha, your sari, जैसे बच्चे का नाक पूछते हैं, वैसे ही क्या है कि वो गांव में सब लोग उसको अच्छे से ओढ़ लेते हैं. तो this is universal. Just like soap, everywhere you go, anywhere you go, you have the soap available for free. Same way, this gamcha is universal. You go to Arab world, you go to Asia, you go to Africa, you go to Americas, you go to France, you go to Paris, anywhere you go, like, we all have our own styles, our own pattern. This is from Uzbekistan. This is from IIT Bombay. This is IIT Kanpur. They gave it to me. So now what is happening is like there is so much creativity, and this is all made by people. This is actually made in houses. Now this thing is even larger. They call it tote. And you know what is this made of? This is made out of yak wool. This is from Himachal. So now this gamcha is from Assam. So this is like available everywhere. It is in every culture. So this is something universal, and this is, again, our Ramban. Not only it protects us, but it also protecting others. So these kind of things which are almost free, you can't put some price tag on it. So I call them priceless. And all of these things which are protecting us. So, I call the soap Brahmastra, I call this, Vajra, and all of these things actually, we had, this is like a war-like situation, it's like a world war. And even World War was like concentrated in a few areas. When the Spanish flu happened, it was just like, 200 million people died, across the world. 50 million, 5 crore log, Bharat, Pakistan, Tibet, Bangladesh, Myanmar, Cambodia, all of that area was combined in 1912 जब Spanish flu आया. So all of that, 5 crore, उस समय हमारी भारत की जनसंख्या 25 करोड़ थी, वो 20 करोड़ पे आ गई. So उसमें और अभी में कोई फर्क नहीं है. अभी भी हमारे पास जो अस्त्र हैं, उस समय उनके पास साबुन नहीं हुआ करता था, अभी हमारे पास साबुन है ना, हमारा ब्रह्मास्त्र है, हमारे रामबाण है. And all of this actually can be made very easily, like, they are very universal. And that brings me to something, which I am agitating. ये जो आप मेरे पीछे background में देख रहे हैं, so मैंने भारत में इधर उधर कुछ काम किया है, तो उसमें I got World Habitat Award, which was given to me by United Nations. So here in New York, United Nations is walking distance, and you see this is I did an exhibition at United Nations headquarters, and these are the people who came from here and there, and they signed. So it was a housing model, and then it was a toilet model. And Kofi Annan and all the heads of the states, they came and they were surprised that, something of this sort was done. Now let's come back to present. And what actually happened is the Millennium Development Goals, which the United Nations, the World Bank, and lots of the heads had set, they were just words. Nobody did anything. lots of party, lots of conferences, lots of those days there were no webinars, so people will fly from here, jet flying, big hotels, big conferences. And year 2000 they made this Millennium Development Goals, and now we have no Millennium Development Goals. And in 2015, they launched something called the Sustainable Development Goals, United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, or you call it SDGs. So मैंने क्या किया है कि if you go to your chat window, whether you are a professor, whether you are a student, whether you are a scientist, whether you are a climate change expert, what I would like you to do is to go to that chat window, and from Makran Booth or Amba or PATH, which is the acronyms for this thing, you will see that I have put a link, and I have asked you guys to Google UN SDGs. So just do that, Google it, and you're gonna learn a lot. And then there are 17 of these, gender equality, human rights, energy, alternate energy, water, production, all kind of things, cities, disaster. Choose one sustainable development goal. Anything you like, or you think you can do something about it, or you think you can't do anything about it. Doesn't matter you are a professor at Columbia University, or like a scientist in Princeton, or All India Institute of Medical Sciences dean, or you are a student at 12th class. Whomsoever is watching this, just do it. Just go there and Google UN SDGs. It will open up बढ़िया चमचमाती हुई इधर उधर बहुत सारा कुछ होता हुआ आपको वेबसाइट दिखेगा, है ना. Choose one goal and do one more thing. What's gonna happen is, because all of us now, we're gonna be working more and more online. I'm not gonna meet you guys ever now, because even if I'm there next to you, I'll be probably with my gamcha, so you will not recognize me. There is no chance that you will catch me on elevator or in my office at my coffee table or something, because we are doing this social distancing. So this is what we are doing. We have to also weaponize. This is what is our kavach. What this interaction which we are doing online, we have to understand. The surfing which we do on the web, that's the new learning, that's the new education. All the world's courses, whether that's Massachusetts Institute of Technology, whether that's London School of Economics, which is the John Hopkins Medical Center, all of those courses, all of them are out, they are open, so the knowledge is the biggest power, and what we are doing right now, the way we champion this thing, that knowledge is gonna be power. So what you're gonna do is, now you are Googling, you are surfing, you have that power, that little phone you have in your hand, this thing, it is more powerful than, when the man went on the moon, that rocket, that rocket which went to moon, we actually have more power in our hands, than those supercomputers. And now we actually are having supercomputers. It's called Q computing, all the physics, all the chemistry. And what they are doing is they are not just mapping the genome. The genome was actually already mapped for the H1N1A virus, which is we call influenza virus, in 2013, because the MERS virus, the SARS virus. So we already have mapped the virus. And what we are doing right now with the IBM and the Cisco's and all the big computer companies, we are doing Q computing. And we can actually look into the virus, and we look into our T cells. And if you go on my website, which actually, again, I will direct you to the chat, and then I have put a link. In that link, you say, it's about COVID and the weapons of mass protection. So what would happen is, if you go there, you can actually see how this Q computing is working and how they have dismantled this thing. and this is gonna not just gonna bring us the new vaccine, but this is also gonna do the cure for the cancer and all that kind of things. And like, this thing is called the science of coronavirus. It's in English, it's 2 hours, but if you have to sort of push the frontiers of learning and education, I would urge that all the professors, everybody, watch that. And right below that, there is a Hindi video, which is 1 hour, and it's question answers in Hindi. Doctors answer, and people are asking questions live, and people are answering. So this is very interesting. I think you should watch 2 of that. But what's happening in between, that we have something called the asymptomatic patient. And this is very interesting, that if you're fit, if your lifestyle is good, even if you're infected, you don't feel that, you are infected, and you are going around normally, and you are actually a super spreader because you actually have the infection. But, so then there is very interesting thing which is happening. This actually is super important. And because what we have seen that there is a second wave of lockdowns, and again, like we have cases increasing, whether that's United States, whether that's Florida, whether that's India, many places, Brazil, all those places where they were not paying attention, where the leaders were adamant, now the cases are rising. And there is this asymptomatic patient. And what we have to do is to, we have to do a self-test. What happens is, let me ask you, how many tonsils we have? Since we cannot interact, let me tell you, we have 5 tonsils. And these 5 tonsils, they form a ring. They are the gatekeepers. So anything which goes in, whether you get cold, there are 100 kind of different viruses which cause you cold, cough. So that's why we can never cure cold, because there are so many different varieties of cold. However, it so happens that if you're fit, if you don't have diabetes, if you don't have, you actually don't get affected by so much, because our immune system actually fights it off. So what is happening is, the first line of defense, the gatekeeper, chowkidar, are these tonsils. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like you have a whole ring of tonsils, and they are fighting with whatever infection you're doing. So what actually happens is, the first sign is like your taste, your tongue, it starts to feel weird. The taste starts to change. Then, you start to get gale mein kharash. फिर धीरे धीरे क्या होता है, गला बैठ जाता है. And 2-3 दिन ऐसे हो जाते हैं, क्योंकि जो भी infection है, whatever germs which are coming to you, they are being actually fought by our tonsils, which is an integral part of our defense system. The mucus, the saliva, this is integral part of our defense system. And then let's go back to what we used to do, when we used to get cough and cold. Our grandma used to tell us, our mother used to tell us to do salt water gargles. है ना? तो क्या है कि नमक के पानी से अगर आपने gargles किए, then you are okay. You relieve. Why this happens? Because salt, it reduces the pH value. The pH value of salt water is different than the pH value of the virus, which is wet airborne particle. However, like when it comes there, just like the soap outside annihilates that virus, the same way inside, when the virus comes, the hot water and salt, the salt, because of this pH value imbalance, it just, let's not say that this is gonna completely fix that. However, it's gonna drastically reduce that load. And especially when you are asymptomatic, it will be only you who would know that I'm getting uncomfortable at my throat. And 2-3 दिन के बाद, what will happen is, आपका गला बैठ जाएगा, you'll get sore throat, a severe sore throat. And then you start getting fever, then you start getting headache, then you start getting body ache, then you start getting excruciating headache, then you start getting excruciating body ache. And then, like, if you are fit, if your system is okay, you know, if you are following a daily routine which is decent, you will actually overcome that in due course of time. But if you have diabetes, if you smoke, if you drink, you know, if you have some preconditions, if you are senior, you are more than 60 years old, you know, what happens is the chances of your going to the hospital are increased. However, all of these people who are fit and they're going around, they are still spreading the virus. So this is very important to recognize that. And actually, I'm going to show you some of these things over here. You know, so I have the salt here. You know, now this is something interesting. So this is called the povidone iodine solution, which they use in Japan. You know, just like we use the salt, they use this iodine solution for gargles for centuries in Japan. You know, but again, just like our weapons of mass protection, you know, these things are universally available. And that's what Gandhiji was doing. You know, what Gandhiji did when the Britishers were colonizing our country, they put a tax on the salt, they put control on salt. Gandhiji said, this is nature. You know, 71% of our world, salt, soda, water. All our oceans are full of salt, full of soda, and full of water. So what happens is Gandhi went there, he took a march, and you know, he took the water out. In the sun, the water evaporated and you got salt. That was Dandi March. When that happened, the East India Company, who had come as traders, and then they started to capture our nation and the world, you know, they were shaken, because that was the foundation of this predatory business. And that's what we have to do, because right now our world is standstill. We are sheltered in place. We cannot work. You know, I have not done any work for 5 months, but I'm doing all these studies. I'm doing this research. What I've done is, like, I made a consortium online of all the scientists from Stanford, from All India Institute of Medical Sciences. But you know, we have to again go back to that Gandhiji's principle. You know, so what happens is, what's wrong with this thing? You know, why we are not making this universal? Because not only this is recyclable, you can wash it just like with soap. You know, 15 seconds this is disinfected, and in about 15 4 or 5 hours dried up. If you keep 2-3 of these, you know, so you have full protection from not only spreading but also taking. You know, now if you know, I come to this thing, you know, this is a yoga mat. You know, so jo Hatkarga hai, that handloom, you know, where you make this thing, you know, where you make something like this, you know. Now this thing is from Ecuador. You know, this is a Panama hat. You know, why they call it Panama hat? Because Panama has the canal, and from there everything goes. So even though this is made in the tribals of Ecuador, you know, this is called Panama hat and goes all over the world. You know, there's nothing just, you know, quite like it. You know, this is so beautiful. Even if, like, you know, you do this, see, it has got shape formation. You know, so what is actually happening is, you know, our world has changed. You know, and let me actually show you something else here. You know, and you know, look at this. So what we have here is all these yoga mats. You know, so these yoga mats, I hope all of you can see. You know,
Makranji, we have your video ready. If you want the video, we can play the video for you.
It's all right. You can show it later. But see, what's happening is, you know,
Yeah.
you see, like, this is toxic. You know, what is happening is, you know, the United Nations, you know, they made this World Yoga Day. And that World Yoga Day is together with the, you know, there is no Sustainability Development Goals Day, but because yoga is like so much about sustainability, they celebrate the World Yoga Day and the Sustainability Day together. And that is also the solstice, 21st of June. And also, it's a Father's Day in many countries. Also on that weekend, we have a huge festival called the Clearwater Festival. And this was a saint like Kabir or, Gandhi, who actually started to go around the river, and, he was instrumental in cleaning up the river. So what's the problem with this is that every year, India and the United Nations, they spend millions of dollars. They spend millions of dollars, and they give this thing free. These t-shirts free. All of us, we got these t-shirts. Some of my friends who are watching, they also got this t-shirt. We all get this free. See, this is sponsored by SBI. What is this? This is a t-shirt. Same way, like, we got these cricket caps. If you look at a cricket cap, the cricket cap actually has a lot of different components. We are talking about sustainability, and this is the most unsustainable thing. This is made in China. This might be, in Delhi or in the, they are actually giving it to you from via marketing it via Gurgaon or something. But actually it is coming from China. Do you know what color is this? This blue, what pigment is there? This ink, they are all very toxic. Toxic inks, this cheap, imported stuff. This is the antithesis of sustainability. So what are we talking about? On one side, we are talking about the sustainable development goals, and then other side, we have outsourced this thing and we are giving this for free to celebrate yoga. That's the reason I'm sitting on the Satyagraha, because whether that was United Nations or whether that's Prime Minister's office, everywhere, from day one, this is going to be the 7th World Yoga Day into 2021. And from the first World Yoga Day, whether that was Guruji Sri Ravi Shankar, whether that's Sadhguru, whether that's Baba Ramdev, whether that's Sushma Swaraj, whether that was, Niti Aayog, all of these people, we have gone and we've been telling them this is open public, and we still have this. Like, see, I have put this little bag here, so this is a biodegradable bag, and I bought this from India, and in United States, I'm part of a very large, one of the oldest and the largest food cooperative in United States of America. Can you imagine? It's a mother of many other cooperatives, and they use plastic bag. What we have this in India, they don't have it. However, when India is giving this all for free, all of these attachments, they are also plastic and they are toxic. Very easily this can be changed.
So,
what we have here is, this yoga mat, which is made by the, tribal cooperatives, like whether that is Africa, whether that's United States, where we have the tradition of quilt making, whether you go to Bastar or you go to Odisha, everyone is making their own, just like this gamcha, just like this Panama hat, look at these things. Now this is a metal sculpture, and this is actually made by the tribal of Bastar. If you look at this wood art, so this is all that metallurgy is actually done by the people. So what we have to do is we have to change that. What we have to do, I'm saying that you don't even have to throw away your yoga mat. All you do is keep your yoga mat, because disposal will be a huge problem. You just cover it with this organic, locally produced, sustainable mat. Sustainable product. You don't need all of this, single use, throw away. We have to change that mentality. You have to come with this, simple, universal things. You have to think about the salt. You have to think about the soda. You have to think about the, So what we actually have is we have these tools, for everyone. One thing finally, I would like to say that, whether they're Chinese or anything, we all have this thing. What I'm going to do is to sort of direct you again to those sustainable development goals, you know. So you go there and you sort of Google that and learn for yourself, choose a goal, choose a target, and then we're gonna talk again. Okay, because this is just the first in the series, you know. So now, you know, like, you know, we have all these weapons, so we can go out and we can do something, you know, we can change this world, you know. This is all free and universal stuff, you know. So whether that's our World Wide Web or whether that's our village, this thing, you know. So we have the soap, you know, we have the Brahmastra, you know, we have the weapons of mass protection, and we can do this sustainably. But you know, what you need to do is to sort of go there and figure out, you know, what they are talking about the sustainability. If you go to that target and you see that they are not doing this, so you know that, you know, you already know better than them, you know. So this is a very good process, you know. So I'm going to end at that, you know. So the yoga, the self-help, the sustainability, this salt, this soap, you know, this gamcha, you know. So look at it into a new light, how we can change our world, you know, in a gentle way, you know, we can change our world. So I'll stop at that, and back to you, Pooja ji. Dhanyawad.
Yeah.
Namaste.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you so much, Bakirji.
And
And Anjan,
yeah, thanks a
before
lot,
we,
Matan.
yeah,
I think there will be a question answer session at the end, and
at the
possibly
end, yeah.
the amount of interest you evoked already, there will be a lot of questions for you, and we'll be happy that if you are there. I'll then request our next speaker, Rajendra Deshpande. He will speak on value development, a pathway, development, and a new normal. So
No.
I think Rajendraji is there.
Yeah, Rajanji, I take this opportunity to introduce Rajanji. Every speaker I will be, we have made a short presentation for every speaker. So I take the opportunity of introducing Rajanji here. And before that, we welcome our last speaker who's just joined, Amita Paul. A very warm welcome from India, ma'am. A very warm welcome for this webinar. Now, there's certain announcements I have to make that all the participants here have to mention in the chat box their attendance, the name, their affiliation, and the email IDs. This is very, very important for your certificates and the feedback form which you will be soon given. So please do mention your name, affiliation, and email ID. And in case of any queries, there's a link provided. You put all your questions in that link and it will be registered definitely. So towards the end of the session, we will quickly play a video which Makranji had given, and we wanted to install it. So towards the end, we will play. Without that, I will present Rajendra Deshpande sir. He is. I'm just sharing the screen here. 1 minute. Hope you're able to see. It's visible. So, Mr. Rajendra Deshpande is a multi-dimensional personality. He's graduated in pharmacy with masters in international marketing management. He has specialized in research and research on business value development in association with USA organization. After 30 years of his experience in industry of pharmaceutical, consumer goods, travel, tourism, healthcare, he joined the research in Gandhian Thoughts. In his research in Gandhian Thoughts, he has worked closely on developing models for holistic rural development as visualized by Gandhi. He has published papers on relevance of Gandhi, human development, and other relevant topics. He has further extensively correlated Gandhian work with contemporary economists successfully. He is currently working on conceptualizing, creating structure and method of social value development concept. Now, he has worked a lot and he was honored by when Jill Carl Harris invited him for towards Juara, a place where dacoits had surrendered, a non-violence movement initiated by Honorable Nirmala Deshpande and Acharya Vinoba Bhave. He was invited in that occasion. Then few of his just to say. He's a receiver of Mahashakti Award winner. Some of the pics have been uploaded here. Pics with Mark Lindley from USA. He's again a very famous Gandhian. And there's other pics of Sir on Jaipur Conference Business Value Development. So this is about Rajendra Deshpande, sir. I would like to now give the hand over the space to Rajesh, sir. Over to you, sir.
Sir, I will request you to make your presentation 20 to 25 minutes.
So please unmute your mic.
Thank you, Pooja. And I am really thankful with principal of this college, Madam Head of the Department of Economics, then Dr. Anjan Chakravarti, Mr. Makarand Bhoot, Mr. Mohan Kole, tomorrow's speaker, Dr. Amitabh Paul, today's speaker after me. I welcome you all for this session. And I'm very much thankful for inviting me and giving me opportunity for presenting my views about business value development in this session. See if I can share I'm able to share. I think there is some problem. Can I request Pooja to run my PPT?
Yes, sir, we are doing that.
Yeah.
Harshita, kindly start the PPT.
Yes, I'm presenting.
Rather than keeping the time blank, I will just start. See, business value development is a very innovative area of strategic management. And last about 5 to 6 years, I have been researching on this with a US-based organization. The objective initially was to focus on medium and small industries in the world slowly vanishing. And in fact, when you see the statistics, more than 50 to 60% of the GDP, as you all know, since you are from economics, it comes from medium and small industry. Thank you. I think the presentation is starting. Still not visible. Yes, the first slide. Will move on to the next slide. First slide. Yes. See, today's topic is of, as I was talking about, small and medium enterprises, and with the research it came out that business value development is an integrated area that needs to be integrated with the rest of the economic, social, and political factors. Today's topic is about sustainable development and millennium goals of the sustainable development. One of the most important millennium goals of United Nations is about sustainability of the business. Many times I have observed in my conferences that people, the sustainability was most of the time associated just with the environment, because there's something people and the students misconfuse about the word sustainability, and they think that sustainability means something about environment, which is not correct. The sustainability that we are talking about, and if we are really serious about getting it realized, we have to focus on sustainability as a holistic concept. And it is not just about environment. Sustainability is actually meant to integration of economic, social, political, and cultural, all other factors in the society. Many times, because of the domination of economic forces over rest of the factors, other factors get overlooked. In this presentation, we will see how the business value development concept integrated with social, political, economic factors can help to achieve the goals. As you all know, we have the world, the global population has reached a phenomenal technological development. There is, according to me, this COVID position and situation is of course a little setback about this, but the technological development already exists. So people in the world today, they as a whole, the goals to certain extent are there in the material concept. But at the same time, we find poverty, we find people dying of hunger, we find scary figures about infant mortality and other various things in the developing part. Exactly missing when the world is so developed is basically the business value development approach for the development. It impacts education. Now, looking at the education, we have schools. In this pandemic, we have noticed that only 10 to 15% of the students, they have smartphones where for getting equipped for online education. So value development concept is needed here, where there is no internet accessibility with various parts, rural parts. We need value development here. In education, we have graduates, but they are not employable. We need value development here. We have to go to the next level. Admissions, employability, and we have online classrooms. We have the challenge of delivery, assimilation. Next slide, please. I think you have missed one first slide with the quotation by Peter Drucker. Can you please have that? First slide, yes. When we are talking about sustainability development during this COVID situation, recently I find a quote of Mr. Peter Drucker, who is a famous management thinker, management philosopher, and management theorist. The problem with the world, he has said, is that when you are in crisis, the greatest danger in times of turbulence is not the turbulence by itself and its physical effect, but approaching this turbulence and the crisis with the same mindset, same logic. And this is what is exactly you find happening around you. Look at the lockdown, look at the policies of the government, look at the way the government and the bureaucrats and all the people, we individually are approaching this problem. To what concept, to what perspective are we approaching? Just be present to this. Yes, now go to the slides. So the COVID-19 has affected, next slide, yes. all the sectors. It is health, education, and economy. I am taking only these three because human development factors include mainly about mainly about health, mainly about education and economy. Next slide, please. Next slide, we have covered this. Yes, agriculture. Why I'm talking about agriculture? Because 60% of our population is still dependent on agriculture, and it has become the most important part for employment, for food, for rural population, and there are various problems. During COVID, the farmers have been presented with. Although government has given free food supplies and all other things, but the farmers had problems of accessibility of the markets, price for their farm produce, and so many other things because of the lockdown, and which was not thought out. Next, MSMEs. Challenges of the small and medium enterprises are, number one, migration of labor. You will find vast number of labor has migrated to their own villages, and even today they want to return, but the public transport has not started, and there are so many hurdles and problems of reaching to the workplace. Workplaces are doubtful whether they have resumed. Not all of them have resumed. So this is really a challenge. The consumption has gone down. The demand for MSMEs products has gone down. And there is now first time there is a finance, banks are now critical of financing the projects, and there are no takers, because nobody wants to take the risk. Now, all these agriculture and the areas of MSMEs that I have discussed, they need value development. I will quote you here. Peter Drucker, the Philip Kotler, the famous marketing person, has written an article about COVID and post-COVID consumerism. Many of you must have read it, all esteemed professors, but I request you to read it. It is available in public domain, and it is a very interesting thing. He has specifically mentioned that consumerism will go down, capitalism will go down. Go down means it will not vanish. All the companies and brands, some of the brands will vanish, some of the products will vanish. But what does it mean? The message is for survival, for sustenance of business, you need value development. Go to the next level of delivering the value to the customer, you will get business. Next slide, please. What I have told just now is that the findings, the post-COVID challenges, as Philip Kotler has quoted, capitalism's dependence on the endless of consumer. Capitalists will depend on endless consumer and consuming of the people. There will be a growth in anti-consumerism. Life will simplify. There will be a little degrowth. Feelings that there is too much of goods. As I have told you, people are looking for value, and this too much of good will really pose a problem in the sector, not in the food and other consumption sectors. Climate activists will get active. Vegetarianism will grow. Conservation will grow. So how will the business units sustain is a challenge. businesses expand by innovation, by marketing, by advertising, by by giving credits to the consumers. They expand, and all these growth factors, the factors of growth, as are mentioned in the economy, all of you know, they are now getting challenged. Next slide. So capitalism is therefore challenged. GDP as a measure of growth will now be questioned, and it will shift its focus on Human Development Index. Now, all of you know, are aware what is Human Development Index. It will be more a holistic figure of development. It indicates health, it indicates education, and it indicates economic progress, all put together by the nation. And it is more realistic development figure by the nation. Next slide. The impact will be severe on the economy, and it will be felt by all the sections and all the sectors of the economy. This is why there is a strongly need for business value development concept, understanding what it is, understanding what the principles are. When I am insisting on business value development, it is not just come from the hat. There is a, what is business value development? It takes a holistic view of a situation, of an organization, of the problems and all other things. It focuses on business value for growth and not the typical growth models followed by industry, followed by agriculture, of expanding the product base, expanding the sales, thereby entering into a debt, and thereby entering into a debt trap, and where maximum many of these get vanished in the debt. Instead, in business value development, we focus on value. Value is a holistic picture of our organization or of anything that you look for. It gives a competitive edge. Now, when you compare our industry, our economy with China, we have so many competing factors as against China. But are we able to convert it into competence? Have our economy become competence, which it actually can, but we could not. This is what is because of missing business value development. Business value development takes a 360-degree view of an organization, of a problem, of a situation. In this analysis, we identify value pillars and value drivers on each sector. On this business value development, I will quote here that it can be used in villages, it can be used in multinationals, it can be used in anywhere. It can be used in social development, it can be used in politics also. It requires a very critical analysis of factors. There is a systematic matrix, and it can be based on technology. Next slide, please. Another impact of COVID will be weaker companies and brands will vanish. The coronavirus makes us aware of how fragile our health is. The sudden loss of jobs will bring a trauma. Staying home led many countries reduce their purchases. people will place more emphasis on needs of our family, more value on our family needs. This will impact severely on the market situations. We will simplify our needs, and some of the brands will vanish. We will simplify the brands. Next. Next slide, please. Most important thing that is going to happen, you will find that until now the markets and so many things were based on needs. We used to look at a particular object as a need. When the market is flooded with so many alternatives and so many brands and so many products, even after COVID, it is still overflooded with goods. So what will people will look for when there are so many alternatives? And this now market is moving towards value based. There are, even today you will find there are so many, to take the example of mobile phone, there are so many mobile phones, but Apple still sells. There are some brands. I just 2 days back I went to after COVID, I went to a mobile shop whom I visit frequently. I said, all your stocks must have got accumulated and no sale. He said, no, there are some selected brands, they are already selling. Stocks are gone. So people are getting value based, they are not need based.
Just small intervention. So
yes.
If you can wrap up within another 10 minutes, it will be nice.
Yes. I am over. In 5 minutes I will wrap up.
Okay.
Not 10 minutes. Yes, thank you. So the economy will get to turn to value-based economy. Now, value-based economy, it requires value perspectives. We have to look at things through value perspective. We have to have a holistic view. Just like as Human Development Index is holistic, all other things will get to the holistic view. Unfortunately, until now, in the bureaucracy and other factors of the economy, other factors of the government functioning, banks, so many, you will find that the bureaucratic view is still, they take a segmented view towards a problem. You go to a village, you go to a small area in any city, metro or anything, you will find, oh, this problem is of health department, this problem is of drainage department, this problem is of cleaning department, this problem is of dispensary health education, primary education department. They talk in these terms. Even the leaders, so-called leaders, they look at the problem in a segmented way. So we need to focus on value. What exactly is to be delivered to the consumers, to the people and the society is the value. You have to define what exactly is the value for the issue that you are dealing with. Next slide, please. Now, India is a land of diversity. Diversity is our strength of our economy. How far our present policies are supporting the diversity? We have to really look into. If we want to deliver value to the millions, we have to address to the diversity. We have more than 5.5 lakh villages today. It was a strength of our Indian economy once upon a time, and we were a superpower, economic superpower once upon a time. It was because of the diversity. It was because of the village economy, village-based economy. Where India was a super economy, in spite of wars, in spite of severe battles, we were still economically superpower. It was mainly because of rural-based village economy. When we perform business value development analysis, all our plans for growth will fall apart through value perspective. Next slide. To summarize, post-COVID era, we are seeing the impact in all the sectors of our economy, our health, our sociology, our political, every area is affected. All industries are affected. Pre-COVID state of economy, the so-called slowdown was one of the most important indicators for us to get up. 70 years of our economic planning, we have seen several budgets, several expenditure plans, and in all the sectors, we are still the comparable economies. I don't want to compare with developed nation, but you compare with any other developing nation also, our indicators are falling behind. So all the analysis will lead to one conclusion, that there is a lack of focus on business value development. Next slide. So today, the world has enough of products and materials for all of us. The people are now looking for business value. Whether it is a rural, whether it is a urban, global, metro, whatever type of market or whatever area you are looking for, what the world is looking for is business value. Next slide. Business value development, understand what it is. It is a systematic step-by-step method to analyze the area, target area, a unit or a village or an organization, and finds out value pillars and value drivers. And if we are really serious about Atmanirbhar Bharat, we really need to focus on business value development. Next slide. I think it's over. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, sir, for your.
I'm very much thankful for giving this opportunity. I'm thankful for all the people who have participated in my session. I welcome and thank you again, Dr. Pooja, Dr. Anjan, Madam Principal Madam, and Dr. Amita Paul, and Mr. Hemant Mohan Kolle, and Prashant Deshpande, and all other people who had taken special pains to participate in this session. Thank you. Thank you, Pooja. Thank you, moderator Dr. Anjan and Madam. Thank you.
Now, sir, thank you very much for your beautiful presentation. Precisely, actually, we have done two steps. Actually, Makrand very categorically showed that whether we talk about sustainable development goal or not, but sustainability is our way of life. Precisely, he very painstakingly showing the items which we are using for years, for thousands of years, and indigenously produced, can show us our sustainable way of life, and that can be our weapon in this crisis situations. And from there, and that is also the Gandhian way of thought he has been preached. Following the same manner, Rajendraji very precisely hinted on two particular things that Gandhiji preached. Gandhiji told two things: that keep your consumption level low, because the entire capitalist system is made here based on this particular philosophy, and it's a material happiness that is the philosophy they believe in. And Gandhiji precisely and constantly told that you keep your consumption level low, you make your village sustainable and self-sufficient, and you have a way of life that will add prosperity as well as inner happiness. Certainly, we moved away from a way of life that we need to think that we are talking about in this post-COVID scenario, that it's a new normal. Now, briefly summarizing these two lectures, now I request Pooja to introduce our next panelist, Amitabh Pal.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Anjan. Now I take this pleasure to introduce Amita Paul from California. Now, Amita is a product leader from San Francisco Bay Area, currently working at LinkedIn. She holds masters in computer and an MBA from XLRI Jamshedpur. Over 20 years of experience covering various leadership positions in India, San Francisco, including her own technology startup in digital marketing space. Avid reader of books, Amita is working on her own book about India and its historical influences. Amita is a strong believer of paying it forward and mentors and supports causes for women upliftment. She's passionate about grassroots development and education for underprivileged children. Pleasure to have her. And there's a pic which students have made uh, of hers talking about conducting a session at LinkedIn. Then they have some of the memories from Amita ma'am, uh, taking being time with the family, and some more memories of Amita ma'am. So it's pleasure to have Amita ma'am here. Yeah.
Thank you
I
so much.
request
So over to
Amita ma'am
Amita
to,
Paul. Amita Paul.
if you can summarize your presentation within 20 to 25 minutes.
It won't take that much time.
So
Thank you so
then,
much.
okay, then we'll be having a very nice question answer session.
Absolutely.
You are welcome, ma'am.
I wouldn't take so much time. Thank you, Pooja, for the introduction. Thank you, Rajendra ji, for such a um, thought-provoking presentation right before me and making me nervous. But I'll try and do my best. Also, just want to make some correction. I'm not a doctor yet. Yes, I did wish to be at some point in time, but no, I'm not a doctor. I'm Miss Amita Paul. So that's a slight correction. I'm trying to present here. Let's see if you can see it. Can you see my screen? Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, we can see that, Amita Paul. We can also.
And you can hear me. You can hear me well as well, right?
Yes, yes. Go ahead.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. I start with apologies for joining in late. And in that process, I've missed a few sessions prior to me. But I must say one thing, that as I started my day, as I sat into this room and like joined the session, the sun had just risen right outside my window. And I hadn't felt better before. It felt so nice to be starting your day talking about something so powerful, not just for us, but for the generations ahead. So I'm very thankful to be able to do this and start my day with this. And hopefully every day could be started with such nice, things where you're not thinking about yourself. Um, so I've known Makrant Bhaiya, Mr. Makrant Bhoot, for many years now, decades. My knowledge and understanding of sustainability is watching him do the things that he's been doing. And he's been a big, inspiration for me. And for most parts, I didn't understand what he's doing. For most parts, they're like, why is he doing all of that? And then gradually over a period of time, you start realizing, you start experiencing. And I believe, inspirations from people like Makrant Booth and others, and seeing the degradation that's happening in your surrounding, in your environment, makes you step up, makes you believe, uh, the role you can play there. So my presentation today is, I'm not representing all the other experts of sustainability in the room, but I'm going to present the common people, like people who are starting on this journey, and sharing some of the experiences from my lenses, from how I see And I wouldn't be saying anything that hasn't been discussed before, or that's not a repetition, but it's just the lens that I'm seeing it from, and hope there are things that can be valuable and things that can be taken, from here. I want to start my journey, not necessarily talking about me, but few things that has shaped my career and over again. So I believe whenever you start learning something new, it's again a new journey, right? So if I think about sustainability and environmental awareness, I believe it's again a new journey, something that was not part of my mental model until recently. And how funny it is, how ironic it is that you live in this nature, in this environment, and then you start thinking about it as an after fact, after things start turning bad. And I think we all can play a role so that it doesn't become a passive thing, but it becomes a most active part of our life. So I'm just sharing this few things for the audience. So if like me, if you are in the audience and you are starting your journey in environmental awareness and sustainability, this is how I look at any new journey. The first thing I do is I invest in myself, right? Investing in yourself means knowing everything that you need to know about that subject, that area. Why would you be passionate about it? So whether it's taking up a new course, being in presence of people who know more about it, reading more books, reading more, scholarly articles around it. Invest in yourself. Unless you know about the subject matter, how would you grow? So that's the current step that I'm taking in that path, and I wish my audience who are listening also, follow that. The second is step up and take the challenge. The fact that I'm speaking on sustainability completely reflects that step. When Makranji asked me to talk about sustainability and to talk about the business value drivers, I was like, hey, I do not know much about it. I'm not an expert. How can I talk about that? And he asked me to, share my knowledge and, whatever my background is, and bring it into the mix. And that was an opportunity for me to, sure, step up and take the challenge. And in that process already, in the last few days, and thinking about this topic, I've already felt like I feel like I'm more involved in it than I was ever before. The next step is be replaceable. So once you're starting doing that, bring in more people so that what you're doing right now, others do it and you take the next step, right? So be replaceable. Next is act the role. Now, who do I want to be like? Do I want to be like more on the Gandhian philosophy side? Do I want to be more on the business, the capital drivers of the economy, and see what they are doing and try to be there? So find a place for yourself, find where you want to be and how you want to bring that change, and start acting that role, start doing that. The next one is creating your own. I mean, it's one thing to be following, it's one thing to be being part of some organization and contributing, but the biggest change, in my personal opinion, in all my past backgrounds, have happened when I've tried to create my own. When I was in the I'm still in the software industry, but when I was doing digital marketing and social media became a thing, social media became more of a both business and consumer behavior thing back in 2008, 2009. It was very much restless to not have my footprint in there, to not tell the world what I believe in it. That led me to start my own startup on how businesses can do social media. Now I'm in Bay Area for about 20 years. I have my kids here who are born here and who I'm raising here. And I tell them about Indian culture, and I try to influence them about, what Indian culture is all about. But it's one thing trying and taking it from other sources and informing them about it. And it's another thing that I'm creating my own version of what I believe India is, what my upbringing is like, and transfer it to them. That led me to start writing my own book. Now I do not know what I would be doing in sustainability, but I think the next progression that I would like to create in this area is create something of my own that that becomes my philosophy, my way of thinking. Finally, be an infinite learner. So no journey ends. There's no end to a journey. It's always like a continuous destination, and you stop when you stop learning. So every time, every moment we have, we've learned something about a certain area and subject. What else can you learn? How else can you integrate with other things that you know? So that's my process. That's my journey about sustainability and how I look forward in the next few years. And I hope the audience would also take it up from here. Moving on, so the two takeaways that I want all of you to, leave from my presentation is looking at the change, one at the macro level, because we are at the end of the day part of a system. And in some way or shape, we are, being in being in that system, we are influencing a large number of people who are part of that system. So what I mean is, at a macro level, like as a business, either as a business owner or business executives, or speaking of myself as a product leader building products, what am I doing at that macro level? What am I producing? How am I producing? It's just not enough on saying what. It's how that is becoming more and more important, and contributing to that larger, bigger ecosystem thinking, so that businesses are contributing at a more systemic level, so that becomes that translates to much wider impact, right? Top down. But then where I find myself playing the most important role is at the micro level. As an individual, how am I playing? What role do I play? How can I contribute? So I'll be speaking briefly about the macro level and giving some example, because I'm from software industry, and typically software industry is not really thought of as at the forefront of bringing about sustainability and changes. So I'll try and give some use case and example of two of the companies, and then briefly describe micro level, and with a specific emphasis on how COVID-19 has helped our thinking, and as the aftermath of COVID-19 has changed the socio economic behavior of people. I really like the talk, Peter Drucker's examples, and the more recent, the consumer behavior changes. I forget, it's Philip Kotler's article that was quoted by Dr. Rajendra Ji just a while back, and how and what can we do as an individual. So those are the two areas that I want to talk. And this image, I believe, is very symbolic. It all starts by knowing the nature of the beast, right? What are you looking at? If you, it's not pretending to be someone you are not, but it's like, are you looking at something which is, in a very small shape? Then the reactions that you would have would be appropriate to your vision, to what you're seeing, right? So it all starts by understanding, acknowledging, and appreciating the level and how big the problem space is, because that'll help determine the solution that you provide. So talking about businesses, large number of companies are doing a lot of things. From my learning and from what I've observed, companies have moved on from being environmental ready, environmental aware as a branding thing, to really acknowledging that it is a problem. There is a problem, there is an issue, and we need to address it. It's just not make us look good thing anymore. And the reason I say this is because what I've seen the changes because of this shift in thinking is now sustainability and environment is for many of these companies core principles. It's the way of doing things for these companies. It's not just a PR tactic or a PR thing. And I think that's a very great move. We are still a long way ahead, to make it like a general practice. But I think those are some really good examples that some of these companies are setting up by making sustainability and environmental choices as part of their core principle and business value. Talking about Microsoft, just a quick use case. we have in the last several decades seen really, really fast upward trending economic growth. And what we've also seen is most of this economic growth in the environmental context is driven by the use of energy, right? More data centers are created. And at the end of the day, causing and this driven by energy means there's more carbon footprint in the world. And as we are seeing, whether people believe it or not, global warming is a thing, and we are seeing rising global temperatures across the globe, right? At all places. And when you see, it's one thing talking about it, but when you see it in the graph and when you see like the increase in the degrees of how temperature is increasing over a period of time, it's astonishing to see that. So what Microsoft has committed to is going carbon negative by 2030. And there are 4 focus areas that Microsoft is thinking about. First is carbon negative by 2030. They are by ever since 2012, if I believe, they are carbon neutral. So that's one of their key goals. Full disclosure, Microsoft is the company that owns LinkedIn. But these are all my personal presentation. Ecosystem. So I think this is another very big way of thinking. Businesses like Microsoft or like Fortune, companies, they have buildings all around the world with massive amount of land that they own or lease. So I think this was a very principled way of thinking, right? Very systematic way of thinking, that we own a lot of land. Can we commit to protect more land than we are using? I mean, it's a very simple way of thinking, but I think just the notion of that gives you a mathematical, a scientific way of supporting and solving the problem. Water. So the other thing that Microsoft is considering, and companies like Microsoft are considering, are development of technologies to make smarter decisions, not just about water, but about all of the above, right? How are we using land? How are we using, what's our carbon fees that we are paying? And not just for us, how is our supply chain? Because companies like Microsoft are built on supply and value chains. It's just not if we do the things correct, everything works better, right? The supply chain that we work with, the companies that we work with, are they equipped? If they are not equipped, can we support them? So those are some of the actions that companies that Microsoft is taking by building and creating technologies to make smarter decisions about use of water, for instance. And finally, the last focus area for them is waste. It's one area where a lot of companies have actually taken strides in. So material reuse and recycle and reducing waste, but doing it in a very scientific and a methodical way. Quickly moving on to another example, not too different, but Adobe. We have at some point in time all used some of the Adobe products. So their areas of focus are like product innovations, building products that that already help paperless transactions, for instance, and make collaborations more helpful. Operational sustainability. So one thing I really picked up from there was building LEED certified offices. Um, all of those things take commitment. And finally, building partnership, not unlike Microsoft, where you're looking into your supply chain. Even Adobe is like focusing on 2 things: policy advocacy, so working with government organizations, working with other organizations to influence policies that would have a very positive impact on the path forward for sustainability. There are many other examples, but these are the 2 use cases at the macro level, where from how businesses in the software industry are taking steps, adding them as part of their core values, and enlisting employees employees at the end of the day are individual, but enlisting employees to participate in those drives, kind of creating a very big change momentum across. Moving on to the micro level, micro way of life, sustainability as a way of life. I heard, Makarand who mentioned that, and also in the presentation earlier, sustainability as a way of life. And there are two things I really like to focus on here. One is the choices we make. I've heard this a lot in many different ways: minimalistic life, the Gandhian way of life, simplicity, simplify. I have a slightly different point of view here. I very much believe consume what you need and define clearly what you need. We sometimes have no control on the things that, and we have no differentiation between need and want sometimes. So be very, clear about those things and conscious about those things. But at the same time, I do not believe consumerism is wrong. Being thinking capitalistic way is wrong. It's the way our economy would grow. It'll sustain a lot of sellers in the business, people who are producing things. But where we can contribute to and bring change is the choices of products that we use, helping shape and reshape the people who produce those products. So while yes, I agree in simplicity, but I do not necessarily believe that we should stop using things as much. And the next one, which is very core to me, which is kind of my life principle, is what are we teaching the next generation? I live my life through the lens of my children, and if within my household I cannot see these two individuals. This picture is of my children, in fact. If in my household I cannot see these two children growing up into the citizens of the world who will carry forward some of these principles, how can I expect the world to be changing? So I think it starts very much at my home and within the area of my influence. Now, quickly moving on to what does that mean? What role can I play in? What has COVID-19 done to change and shape some of the thinking, right? So there's nothing more I can add to what COVID-19 has done to us in all aspects of our life. It's brought in a period of uncertainty, anxiety, and confusion, but I am also a true believer that order comes from chaos. It's only in the tough times and how we deal with those tough times is how we realize what we are made of and what we can really like do and how we cope with it. My only worry, nervousness, I'm seeing some very good signals out of it, like as an aftermath of COVID, like how we are leading our lives. My only worry is once we get back to normalcy, and like I'm sure this will be in the rare window soon, but once we get back, I hope and strongly believe and try my best to influence that the good lifestyle that we have imbibed because of COVID, or rather in spite of COVID, we continue with that. We continue some of the good things that has come out of it, the order that has come out from this chaos. So here are a few bullet points. The first one is working from home. And working from home as with children, working from home with parents who you have to take care of. Working from home has so many dimensions. It has taken, like, now it's 4 months for some of us, or 5 months for some of us working from home. The first month was a huge, massive, steep learning curve from all of us. It led from, not able to be productive to impacting the physical and mental health of some of us. Um, you know, but still, like, when we say working from home, it means there is working involved. Still, some of us are grateful that we have a home and we are able to work from home, right? We are not those essential workers. We're not doctors and grocery people who have to actually step out of the home and work. So I start all of this with a very strong sense of gratitude. But what working from home has taught us as individuals, and also the businesses, is you don't need to really travel. You can get a lot of things done through web conferences, through online means and mechanisms, right? Um, Certain organizations, certain business functions in organizations are very travel heavy. For example, sales. It has always been felt that you need to travel and be face to face with the client. For the last 4 or 5 months, and I've been interviewing quite a few people who are in those roles, and I've been asking, has anything impacted? So the impact has been more of a global nature, but not necessarily people very soon adjust. People very soon try and understand. And there, of course, would be some things that cannot be done without face-to-face, but it would significantly reduce those travel times and the pollution that you create because of going from back and forth. And you learn to maintain a good fine balance of work and personal life. So again, sustainability, one is okay in the environment and other things, but working all across. So the kind of balance you create, I think we have learned that by working from home. Philip Kotler mentioned this, I believe, social versus physical distancing. So yes, this has brought in social distancing, but what it has also done is like this physical distancing, the relationship between people, I do not think that has changed. In fact, in my personal case and in few of the people I've spoken with, it has improved. So now my family, my parents live in Kolkata, my sisters live in all other places, my nieces and nephews are all around the world. Never before COVID, we thought of all coming together, I think 18, 20 of us, in a Zoom at the same time and creating the chaos over speaking over one another. Never before we had thought. And it was such a joy doing that. We have now, we try now to reach out to people who we have not spoken in a long time. We just pick up a call, just how we used to do that before, right? So yes, social distancing has happened, but physical distancing, it's not necessary that we lose those relationships. Last 2 points, outdoors and appreciating natures. To be very honest and transparent, before COVID, I did not really know my neighbors. Here you go out for work in the morning, you step out of your home in the garage, you leave the home and you come home. And all you do is over the weekends, you go for hikes and do the outdoors. So that's something which I'm very passionate about and I continue to doing. But just walking in my street, I've known so many people. I've seen so many things. I've seen some of the problems in the community. I've seen like, okay, what can be addressed? And it brings a very good thing for me to talk with my kids. Hey, did you see, the traffic signal there is broken? What can we do about it? Or the stop sign doesn't work. What can we do about that? And finally, practicing self-care. Like Makranti has been talking about this for a long time, and it's just so funny, it's so ironic that we have to remind people to wash hands. We have to remind people to cover yourself or to cover your face when you're sneezing. Those are some of the fundamental things. But because of our phobia, if you will, of the germ, we have tried and we have started taking more care. And the self-care doesn't need us or require us to go out and do anything. We within the things that we have, soap and water at home, a simple mask that we can put on our faces, and several other such things, cleaning up the area that you are in after a rough usage. Those are some of the things that are very within our control, within our capacity. But we all, like, not just us, the kids, everyone, we are all practicing self-care in a way that we have not seen it before. And lastly, creating, collaborating, and contributing. Like I said, in my journey, it's always when I'm creating something, I'm collaborating something, and I'm contributing to, is when I really achieve that level of, success, if you will. Through this period, I've seen so many smaller outfits, people just coming together, 4 or 5 of us, just joining hands, putting together lunch packets for the homeless, trying to find ways in people who are underprivileged. I've known so many friends who are mass producing masks and just distributing, not knowing who it is going to, just producing like thousands of masks and giving it to some local organizations, preparing lunch and taking them to the hospitals. Smaller ways in which we are contributing. And I think that tells a lot about the community. That's what we knew life back then, that we are starting to realize again. And I believe we can sustain that even after COVID is behind us. Finally, I want to just leave you with this quote, which I very strongly, I find it very profound, that really all these things that we are doing is not to protect the environment. I wish it was such a part of our life that we didn't have to protect the environment. It didn't require any protecting. With that, thank you very much, and I look forward to questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Amita, for your beautiful presentation. Now taking three speakers together, I would like to summarize in a manner that when Neil Armstrong stepped on the moon, he possibly didn't look much at the moon, rather on the earth, because this is the first time it was uttered that see our beautiful planet, and this is the first time in human civilization we uttered the word look at our beautiful planet. So from there, possibly the journey started that we should look at our planet. And coming to Amita, I think two important things, or rather three important things as a listener I will take away, that from chaos we learn, and chaos being the order, number one. And number two, create, collaborate, and contribute. So possibly this is the business ethics or the business value that our previous speaker Rajendra ji he talked about, and you took it further. And the third and important point is the looking at ourselves. Now here I will give a different example that what is truth generally being asked in Vedanta. Then we look at all the scientific invention, and most of the invention possibly being endorsed by a Nobel Prize. Now say neutron and proton, once upon a time they used to have a size in terms of scientific kind of invention. But later on we realized no, they do not have size. They cannot be seen per se. If that be the way, then which one was the truth? The earlier was the wrong, and the next one is the right. It's not like that. Actually, we are looking for a higher truth. That means our entire journey of civilization, when the first two stones we just struck together and invent fire, possibly that is the beginning of the invention of the technology, and till that, even it's in LinkedIn or in Microsoft or in the software and getting integrated with the way of life. Possibly we are keep on inventing and innovating technology to make our life better, not individual life better. The third and important point that I personally realize, that when we talk about the Vedanta, we talk about kind of how to achieve this truth. Now the problem with our intelligentsia is that we are too much worked on our intelligence. That means we put much our emphasis on our intelligence, and we keep on sharpening that. Vis-a-vis, there is a heart that exists. We don't take into consideration that should go along with our improvement in our intelligence. And possibly Amita hinted to us that okay, fine, fair enough. You accept consumerism, you accept everything that you are coming across. And in post-COVID situation, please, you allow your intelligence and heart to go together. Thank you very much. A very beautiful presentation. So we started with Makrant. He has shown that the way of life we had, just we have to recreate it, we have to practice it in post-COVID scenario that can make our life better, make our system better. Then our Rajendra ji, he precisely shown that what the problem lies in the economy, that little shed out of growth, but a kind of a revamp, that if a farmer is producing food grains for us, but if he doesn't have a food, if the small and medium scale industries, if they don't function, then possibly the growth will not be achieved. And if that has to be achieved, then certainly we look at the lower strata of the economy rather than the upper stratum. And finally, Amita has given a beautiful lecture. With these three lectures, possibly we had a very beautiful session, and being the opportunity to chair this particular prestigious session, I express my extreme gratitude to Principal Ma'am, Pooja, and rest of the organizers. And possibly if you follow the order, it will be the best time to the video that we are all waiting for, that Makranda prepared for us. After that video is being played out, then we'll take up the question and answer session. So with this, I handing over to Pooja.
Thank you so much, Anjan, for summarizing in such a beautiful way all the three lectures, and they're so intertwined and interconnected. It is really well appreciated, amazing session, and I really congratulate. But before we take up the question answer session, I request Harshita to just play the video. Let's have a video.
I have
Please
placed
take care
the
of the
link.
voice.
This link is also posted in the chat sessions. So I've been posting lots of links and lots of references. So go up and down the chat, and you will see it. And I think you can see this full screen.
Keep a full screen right now.
Basically, I'm saying that, hey, here is this yoga mat, and this is very unsustainable. And, we are celebrating the World Yoga Day and the World Sustainability Day, and it doesn't make any sense, and we can change that. Instead of those toxic, this cheap Chinese, plastic mats, we can make some very nice, beautiful, colorful, handmade, locally made, our daris, our mats, every culture, whether that's Asia, India, Africa, Assam, Gujarat, or Kenya, Uganda, or Sahara, anywhere you go, they are making their own wonderful things. So we really need not to sort of stick to these toxic stuff, and we can change it, and that that gives you a lot of employment. This yoga industry is such a big fashion industry. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. So it's not just yoga mats. It's like shirts, it's pants, it's shoes, and this and that. So so it really goes into the lifestyle. And if we sort of adapt to this kind of self-help and sort of responsive, sustainable way, we can really generate a lot of employment at the grassroots, and it's gonna be beautiful, it's gonna be colorful, it's gonna be great. So while this pandemic is sort of pounding us down, what we have to do is to sort of understand what is this fundamental, and nature, is actually tapping on us and telling us, hey, like, this is the way to go. So I think, you have to look at it that way, and then go back to the chat session where you can actually go up and down. And I have put a lot of different clips, as people were talking, like, when Amita ji was talking about, like, how things are going on in the home, she probably didn't say, but her husband probably must be washing dishes, for the first time, or maybe like more. But that is also a multi-billion-dollar industry. We call it clean tech. Your detergents, your soap wash, your shampoo, your hand wash, your floor wash, your toilet wash, this thing, that thing. So what is actually happening is we really don't need that. A lot of that stuff can be locally produced, and then they will be much more milder, and then we will be sending much less toxic stuff into our waters. So I'm just gonna wrap up that, but I'm gonna say that maybe if you don't have too much time for questions and answers, just like go up and down through the chats. There must be at least 10-15 different clips and videos and new notes I have sent, and especially to Amita ji and the home front and the husbands doing cleaning. I have put the original soap guy, because of him, like, we have this weapons of mass protection. His name is Dr. Semmelweis, and Google dedicated a doodle on him on March 17, which was after Holi. So go check that. It's a Wikipedia link for Dr. Semmelweis, and he came before Louis Pasteur. If we have to make our milk good, like you have to boil it. So before Louis Pasteur sort of established his germ theory, nobody paid attention to Dr. Semmelweis, and he went crazy telling people that all you had to do is to use soap water, And nowadays, like the WHO has made it into an hand wash, which is a half-witted stuff. It's not hand wash, it's soap wash. And that's what Dr. Semmelweis was saying. And that's what, all our husbands have to do. They take a brush and take the soap and spray the heck out of all of those kadhais and all the spoons and the plates and this thing. Because all you have to do is to spray, and that, it evenly spreads the soap, on that's the minimal amount of soap. And then, in 2 minutes you can actually clean it and you can disinfect it, and it's 100% sparkling, and your wife will be happy, your children will be healthy, so just do it.
Can I just add here, being the feminist that I am? It's not good to assume that wives do the cleaning all the time. It might be a reality. So with that.
So,
Dr. Semmelweis, check out that video.
We can start the Q&A session. As I understand, that QCell, DRC, they have kind of collected the queries. As such, I didn't find much questions in the kind of a chat box. So either you can come forward and put up the questions.
Yeah, no, I think Harshita is taking care of that. Harshita will present all the questions. Yeah, she's
Yes, the questions will be presented here, and then we'll read out so that the speaker can answer them. Snehanjal, please present your screen.
Hope it's visible to everyone.
Yes, it is. It is.
So this is the link. It is in the chat box also. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask on this. Okay, so our first question is from Ms. Amita Paul. Ma'am, in your opinion, what is the right strategy regarding entrepreneurial activities in relation to the COVID-19 pandemic, especially for graduate business students who have just entered work?
Yeah, thanks. That's a great question. Really appreciate this question. So I'll start with pandemic has also caused a lot of problems for especially the graduates, the students who are just coming out of business schools or any other schools, because the job opportunities are thinning, right? This is not the best time for you to be graduating and entering into the workforce, where workforce is not hiring at the same level as it was a year before or so, right? So it's already creating a concern. But if you have landed a job and if you already have a job, so I would say congratulations. That's really already a great start. Irrespective whether you are in the job or you're not, make the best use of this time. So the thing that you would like to see is what industries and how, first of all, when you start something, when you start an entrepreneurial venture, you do it because there is a problem and you're trying to solve that problem, right? So it's not changed. So in this current circumstances, what is changing? What is the new behavior? Most of the thing is going online. So you would see people spending more time online. Education is going online. Different segments of the consumers in the education industry, if we just stay with EdTech for a little bit, you would see they have different needs, right? All the way from how can you expect kindergartners to have an online education, right? Versus people who are at a much higher spectrum in that segment. What can you do in that area? How can you contribute? The other, so EdTech is definitely one big area where you can think of and find a problem that maybe you can potentially address. The second one is collaboration. This is becoming the whole, all the web conferences, as you can see, is all about collaboration. Are there any areas that are currently not being met that you can influence and get people activated through those collaborations would be another ways. So I'll just end saying, this is the right time. If you do not have a job, or if you have a job, try and find problems that you can solve. It's mostly in the areas of things that could be done physically and now moving in online, and see how you can put that together.
Thank you, ma'am, for such an insightful answer. Now we move on to the second question, which is for Mr. Makrant. What encouraged you to go on a satyagraha, and what is the most important SDG according to you?
You got me there, huh? I have to think about it. But see, my profession is architecture. So मेरा है क्या लाइन मारने का धंधा है जो मैंने बचपन से छोड़ा नहीं है. So what actually is happening is whatever is actually related to my profession, I try and do everything, try and learn everything. So what actually happened is, as an architect, I designed some hospitals. So when I designed the hospitals, you know, आपने वो 3 Idiot movie देखा होगा कि you know there is this hero, like you know he goes, he takes his the scooty of his girlfriend, or no, she's actually not his girlfriend yet, but you know his friends, his classmates' father, he puts it in between, and then they go to a hospital and they go all the way to the ICU, right? You know, so you guys cannot say yes and no, but basically, like you know, that was something inspired me, like you know that the person going, you know, all the way into a hospital and then saving a life. And because I have designed many hospitals, you know, I actually put a lot of attention to something like that. And like if you are in my hometown in Raipur, you know, you can go to this big hospital and nursing college which I have designed, in which, like you know, you can actually take your entire auto rickshaw and go up to the operation theater. So in the process, you know, I've been working with the doctors and the surgeons, also like the ambulance drivers, you know. So we actually have a garage, you know, where the ambulances are being fixed, you know. There is a fuel station there, and then we have a nursing college, and you know, so all these doctors and nurses, all this time, you know, they have to act. Then we, you know, we have kitchens there, you know. A lot of people are eating, we have to think about nutrition. Then after that, you know, we have lots of laundry. Like not only you have to sort of do that surgical you know, sterilization, but you know, the bed sheets and whatnot. So this is a 24-hour, you know, 7 days, you know, non-stop life and death work. But that's my profession, like you know, designing those hospitals. So this is what actually got me into this. And then, you know, this is how, like you know, whether that was, you know, between United States and India, you know, I was able to sort of put together this whole professional network, you know, which is becoming so effective that now we are training the IAS officers, IPS officers, you know, we are training the training, you know, teachers in the schools, and then the kids are actually taking this spray bottles and then they're spraying away, you know, instead of municipalities being disinfecting. So this is actually has been a very strong learning. And all of these things, you know, because these are used in the hospitals, and the surgeons, you know, who have their own life at stakes, the nurses, and then we know that these things are effective. We know that these are the only things that work. And then when you see that, you know, the president of United States, you know, he would still refuse to wear a mask, or the president of Brazil, you know, who will just refuse to sort of observe social distancing. You know, like the Prince Charles or the Boris Johnson or, you know, the Princess of Sweden, they ended up in ICU anyway, you know, but still the world has not changed. And, you know, that's the reason I'm taking this satyagraha, to buy, you know, bring my attention to all of these small things. You know, in United Nations, when you are flying hi-fi, you know, here and there and spending billions of dollars just to sort of make these fancy reports to tell you what is sustainability all about. And then, like, you make these yoga mats, you spend $340 million a year, you know. So every city, every place where India in 299 nations where they have their outpost, they give this toxic yoga mat for free in the name of the Sustainable Development Goals. So I said, hey, you know, what do I do? You know, so I said, okay, like, you know, I have to draw my attention, and I do, like, you know, you also may have seen another movie, Munna Bhaiya MBBS, Munna Bhai MBBS, right? So what Munna Bhai does, you know, like he goes do Gandhigiri, right? So that's what I thought, because, like, you know, this is so, you know, this is not rocket science. This is not the brain tumor surgery. What I learned, this is preventive social medicine. And all of us, the wisdom of our seniors, wisdom of our doctors, the wisdom, the knowledge, the science, we can actually do this. And in order to sort of compel this, I'm doing the satyagraha, because satyagraha is also about hunger. It's also like, you may have like already forgotten those images of millions of people going on the road. And if that when I'm talking to you, that image of a lot of these people leaving the city and sort of on the highway bare feet, whatever they had walking, if it refreshes that memory, then remember the people, the farmers who were committing suicide and they were marching bare feet, to so basically, like, all of those images, when you look at that, so that's why you want to experience that hunger, you want to experience what they are feeling. And I think I have chosen not to sort of serve the billions as my profession. I'm very big fan of LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is a professional network. When you're looking for a job, when you're looking for an expertise, when you're looking for a consultant, that's where you go to LinkedIn, and it serves you the best. So there's no longer, Donald Trump used to be my client, but what is happening is I'm no longer serving the billionaires. Now I'm creating my clientele, which is in the billions. I'm trying to work with all of those people. And I think unless and until I stay hungry and I stay poor, I don't think, I can really understand that. But I'm very privileged. I'm here in United States. I know whenever I want, I can be in New Delhi, I can be in Naya Raipur. I'm a planner in the smart cities, for the government of Chhattisgarh. On the same time, like, I'm in the Bloomberg administration. I have designed airports. I have designed the New Jersey airport modernization. Did the conceptual master planning for the Naya Raipur airport. So what is happening is I'm very, very privileged, but because of my positioning, I want to ensure that some of these basic fundamental things, we don't, and then, we have Gandhiji, we have Mandela, they actually have shown us the way, like, how we can sort of bring attention to this, so I think that's the reason I'm doing this satyagraha. And I think, I'm learning. So I'm actually again going to start from 15th of August, which is our Independence Day, or we can call this a partition day. Again, those images comes of, millions of people sort of going across from one point to another. So I don't want to forget that. I want to stay hungry, and, I want to sort of, learn. I think that's the learning. I think, and it's no big deal. I'm just going to remain true to my profession.
So thank you so much, Mukherjee. Here, I would like to make an announcement. Amita Paul has to leave. She has to join the office. So I would really, really thank Amita ji for joining us today.
I'm going to take one minute to Amita ji. And I want to show her, because, this is about technology. Right now, we are all talking about autonomous vehicles. The battery, like, so right now, all of us, we have these smartphones, and all of these things, have these batteries. Now talking about recycling, what do you know, like, what to do with these batteries? This is super toxic stuff. Now talking about energy, this is an energy storage device. So your energy is still coming from a coal power plant or this thing. You are not making any new energy. This is just a storage device. But like, if you're using a smartphone, 75% of its weight and 75% of this thing is just the battery. If you're using a car, 95% of that, is the battery. So if that becomes in the vogue, how are we gonna dispose it off? And then, like, are we gonna continue to make, the energy from coal power plants and gas power plants and nuclear power plants? What is going to happen is we're going to just move all of these, we don't know what to do with it, and they go somewhere. This is total waste. And after that, we have the garbage out of sight, and out of sight. You know, it's just gone somewhere else. But all of that pollution is happening now in the countryside, where the world is. You know, a few of us are in the cities. You know, but all of this dumping is going to continue. All of that pollution is going to move to, you know, it's just, you know, we will be sheltered in place, you know. So I think, you know, what is that world which we're going to leave, you know? So that's what I want, Amita ji, you to leave with that, you know, and LinkedIn, like, you know, who brings whole world's professionals together. You know, there are lots of jobs in this, even recycling this thing, you know, this is a very, very precious resource. You know, there is a lot of different components. You know, if they get back to you know, those manufacturers, they can do wonders with it. But you know, we have not figured that out, and that's why I'm actually doing this march. You know, so what is going to happen is 15th August I'm going to do this satyagraha, but come 2nd of October, if nobody is listening to me, you know, I'm going to stake this boycott march, in which we're going to take all of this toxic stuff and we're going to give it to those shops, give it to those retailers, give it to those malls, give it to those big bazaars. Whatever this packaging, whatever this plastic, whatever these batteries, whatever these razors they are giving us, all we have to do is, like, you know, when we go to these malls, you know, we go empty handed, right? So take all of these garbage and let them figure out, let them sort it out, you know, let them do whatever they want to do. Because talking about supply chains, all of these delivery people, the, you know, the Amazon delivery guy or the pizza delivery guy who comes to your door, or the truck, you know, which comes from the warehouse and puts the shelves of your kirana dukan or your big bazaar, all of those trucks, they go back empty. Those trucks can actually take back all of this garbage, you know, all of that, and let those manufacturers, let those producers figure it out, you know, what to do with it.
Makran Bhai, sorry to interrupt.
And this is SDG 12, the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal number 12. So
Yeah,
now you know that that's my favorite sustainable development goal. And then go to the target. And if you already know the target, go to the indicators. And if you are able to go to the indicators and able to read the report from some of the people over there, then your knowledge about this issue will be as good as Makran Bhoot, or it will be as good as, you know, your professors or your scientists. So I'll leave you with that. You know.
Thanks, Makran Bhai.
Choose your sustainable goal. Choose your target, and let me know.
Thank you
You
so
can
much.
send me a message.
I need to leave, but
Bye-bye.
thank you so much, Pooja.
Hello, Pooja.
And the organizers.
Hello,
Makran Bhai, I'll
Pooja.
just say one thing to you.
Yes, ma'am.
Can I intervene? I had typed a question. Can I interact with Mr. Makran?
Amita ma'am, let Amita ma'am leave. She wants to leave little early.
Okay, fine.
So
Fair
Amita
enough,
ma'am, you can. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Asha ma'am, just you can tell your question. Yeah.
I've already mentioned it in the chat box.
Ma'am, you can say. You can speak. Yeah, you can speak on your own. Yes,
talk to Mr. Makran?
Sure, sure.
हाँ जी, मैं सुन रहा हूँ. नमस्ते.
हाँ, नमस्कार मिस्टर मकरन. आपकी तो चैट बहुत जबरदस्त लगी, मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगा. डाउन टू अर्थ, जो हम लोग कहते हैं कि एक्साइटेड स्टेट में रहना तो मुश्किल होता है, चोट ज्यादा लगती है, तो बेहतर है ग्राउंड स्टेट में रहें. तो आप बिल्कुल ग्राउंड स्टेट में हैं. थैंक यू सो मच and congratulations for that, whatever you are doing. But my query is just that it's good that we have to keep on fighting. There's no doubt about this, because system is very, very apathetic, very indifferent. But my query is that how this satyagraha is effective, how much it is effective. This is just a sort of feedback. What have you realized? Because of the socio-political system is so indifferent, political class is so indifferent, and not only political, even very difficult to convince the people.
भाई देखिए अभी 15 अगस्त आ रहा है.
Very difficult to convince them for a change.
तो अभी क्या है कि जो स्वतंत्रता दिवस जब फ्रीडम स्ट्रगल चल रहा था, उस समय तो हम लोग थे नहीं वहां पे. तो उस समय वो गवर्नमेंट का क्या इंडिफरेंस था, वहां पे क्या जो डंडे पड़ते थे, है ना, वो किसको क्या जेल में डाल देते थे, यू नो। तो अब तो क्या है कि वो अंग्रेजों की सरकार नहीं है, अब तो हमारी ही सरकार है।
तो हमारे ही लोग हम पर ही तो हावी हैं।
जब जो आएगा
जी,
तो मैं अपना सत्याग्रह फिर से शुरू कर रहा हूँ। लेकिन क्या है कि कोई भी जो ये मूवमेंट होती है उसकी सफलता तभी है जब आप उसके आगे सोच रहे हैं। तो क्या है कि गांधी जी केवल भूख हड़ताल नहीं करते थे, है ना, इसीलिए मैंने दांडी मार्च का उदाहरण किया कि कैसे उन्होंने नमक का सत्याग्रह किया, है ना, कि कैसे वो जो है अपना कपड़ा खुद बनाते थे। जैसे मैं आपको कपड़ा दिखा रहा था, जैसे मैं आपको योगा मैट दिखा रहा था, वैसे क्या है कि वो अपनी धोती, अपनी चादर वो खुद बना लेते थे, क्योंकि ब्रिटिश लोग जो हैं वो हमारा कपास, वो हमारी नील, उसको जहाज में भर के ले जाते थे और उसको फिर वो लीड्स में, मैनचेस्टर में विलायती कपड़ा बना के लेके आते थे और फिर हमको ही बेचते थे। और गांधी जी ने जब ये जाना, तब जब उन्होंने उस पूरी ब्रिटिश एम्पायर को घुटने पे ले आए। तो वैसे ही
उसके पीछे तो बहुत सारे और फैक्टर्स भी हैं मिस्टर मकरन जी। उसके पीछे गांधी जी नहीं, बहुत सारे लोगों का कंट्रीब्यूशन है। बहुत सारे लोगों है जो अंडमान निकोबार जेल काले उसमें सेलुलर जेल में रहे, बहुत लोगों का कंट्रीब्यूशन है। वो शायद हाँ, वो अलग इशू है, वो तो है। घुटने पता नहीं टेके या हम क्या हुआ, वो तो टू नेशन थियरी भी बनी,
दूसरा समय था।
हाँ वो डिबेटेबल है।
हाँ जी, हाँ जी।
टू नेशन थ्योरी भी आई उसमें, पार्टीशन भी हुआ, कॉम्प्रोमाइज भी हुआ, पार्टीशन भी। मेरा सवाल सिर्फ ये है,
वो जो क्वेश्चंस जो लिखे हुए हैं उसको एक एक करके स्क्रीन पे लेके आएंगे क्या? तो उसके उसमें
मेरा क्वेश्चन आप पढ़ें, मेरा
का समय मिलेगा।
So I have been a fighter in my life. It's very difficult to convince the people. They refuse to change.
Yeah, that's true, ma'am. Ma'am, we can carry on with this discussion, definitely. Yeah. So
show my question to him. Show my question. Show my query.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Hope a little bit. I mean, some extent it has been answered. Yeah. So we'll come back for this discussion a little later. So we move on to the next question. Please put all the questions on the screen. Harshita, yeah.
Okay, so the next question is from Mr. Rajendra. What is meant by a 360-degree view and its relevance with the business?
इसके बाद में कहा है, बाद में डाला है मैंने, नहीं आया मेरा क्वेश्चन।
Rajendra sir, are you there?
Thank you for this question. And what every business, every aspect is looked at through a particular perspective. And it is that perspective that decides your relationship and the communication that you use for the various things in your life, including the business. When you look at a particular thing in a particular view, it gives a limited perspective to you. So you communicate through that limited perspective. If you now look at a particular object through its holistic view, your perspective will change. Now, if you look at a, say, job problem, employment problem, or agriculture problem, every stakeholder that is involved into this, he looks at the problem through his perspective only. That is where you feel that having the 360-degree view is important. Have I clarified enough, or you want still further explanation? Thank you.
Okay. Can the next question be put forward?
Yes.
Yes, Nehanjal, the next question for Mr. Rajendra.
Okay.
Yeah. So happiness is a serious business. However, GDP per capita is one of the parameters for measuring happiness index. How can you relate happiness index and business value development together?
Yes, every business, every aspect is considered in business value development. It is a holistic view. How you feel. Business value development does not take into consideration only the profits or only the accounts or only the finance or only the production. It takes a holistic view of your business and it finds out what exactly is driving your business. What are the value pillars and value drivers for your unit? And this is how happiness is also how you feel is also included in the business value development analysis. And in fact, you must be knowing Bhutan is the one country where they consider happiness as an index. Thank you for this question. Thank you.
Okay,
Yes,
next
sir.
question, please.
I think this was it for Mr. Rajendra. So we had just 2 questions for you. And
Thank you.
So, is there any questions? Any more questions?
yes, we have for Mr. Makrant more.
Okay.
Snehanjal, please show for Mr. Makrant. Yeah. Do you think that Indian government is doing enough to achieve basic SDGs? And if not, what can they do to achieve them? Sir, your mic is on mute.
Very much. You know, while my mic was off, I was saying that your voice sounds very good. And can you guys see me? Do you guys see me?
Yes,
Hello?
sir, we can see you.
Yes,
You are able to. So what I have done, you know, because this is a question about India and how India is doing, is it doing enough, you know, etc. So what I've done is like I have put on a thing which I bought from China. You know, I bought this from near Shanghai. You know, this is an area above Tibet. You know, so, you know, because of Corona, we are now into this webinar. If this would, you know, otherwise we would have been watching Olympics, right? This is the Olympics time, you know. And if all, you know, the world would have been okay, we would have been, you know, all the world would have been looking to Tokyo. So what I'm saying is, this is not about India. This is a global issue. You know, जैसे कि सविता मैडम जी, प्रिंसिपल जी ने सबसे पहले हम लोगों को कहा, और जैसे हमारे सुषमा स्वराज जी जब इन्होंने संयुक्त राष्ट्र संघ को संबोधित किया, है ना, उन्होंने कहा कि ये संयुक्त राष्ट्र संघ ये एक वसुधैव कुटुंबम है, कुटुंबकम। तो क्या होगा कि अगर हम लोग उसमें केवल ये देखेंगे कि भाई इंडिया क्या कर रहा है, तो इसमें एक बहुत बड़ा प्रॉब्लम है, क्योंकि ये जो यूनाइटेड नेशंस है, none of these nations come to ever any consensus. So India or China or United States or Germany or none of these countries, you know, कोई थोड़ा कम कर रहा है, कोई थोड़ा ज्यादा कर रहा है ना? Some people, they write very nice report. If you are a Scandinavian country, if you are a European country, you know, you write very nice reports, you know, colorful pictures. So basically what's happening, more or less, you know, this United Nations, वो एक ही थैली के चट्टे बट्टे हैं. You know, why is this plastic continues? You know, why you keep, you know, having these problems? You know, you stop giving us plastic, we'll stop using plastic. Correct? But what is going to happen is, unless and until you stop that production, you know, we the consumers, you know, so that's what is all sustainability about. So when it comes to nations, when it comes to India, you are saying, you know, clean Ganga, clean water, you know, you have a mission and you have €1 trillion in that, not even dollars, you have €1 trillion in that clean Ganga mission. You stop that industry to drain into the nala, and which is going into the nadi. The day that industry is stopped to pollute, let it drain out, 40% of the cleaning of the river will start that day, because it has got a self-cleaning mechanism. We know that all. We all know that. So what is going to happen is, if we have to assess, let's look at the Sustainable Development Goals and India in India's missions. 15th of August, from Lal Killa, there are announcements made. This year they will be announcing the new education policy. This year they will be announcing the Atmanirbhar Bharat. Just like before, they talked about the Swachh Bharat mission. They talked about the Smart Cities mission. They talked about the Namami Gange, Clean India mission. So what is happening is, in many ways, if you look at the languages of that, they exactly copy from the Sustainable Development Goals. That's the reason it's important to sort of choose a goal, go to the target, look at the reports, see who is doing what. So what would happen is, a very detailed answer, to this same question which you have posed me, you can actually get, when you go to that particular Sustainable Development Goal, and then what's going to happen is, you're going to go to the target, and then you can see the position of India on that Sustainable Development Goal, the national position, because the members of United Nations are nations. No state, no city, no river, no tree is the nation. So basically, like, you can see, what China is doing. Is it doing much less, or is it doing more? What is Germany doing, or whatever country you like, you can actually check that. So that's what actually I want to say. Like, there is actually no difference, when it comes to the people in the villages, the Chinese people who are in Himachal, or people who are in Sichuan, there is not much difference. So that's what actually I want to impress, that because like this climate, and because like this pandemic is like a global situation, we cannot leave anybody behind. We cannot leave anybody behind. We have to have everyone, even if that is your driver, even if that's your maid servant, even if your maid servant's daughter, like, jisko aap ghar mein nahi ghusne dete, you actually have to take care of everyone, because this is all interconnected. If your doodh wala gets the infection, your mother or your child is gonna get the infection. So we cannot leave anybody behind, and we can no longer think that this is India and this is China, and this is Pakistan, and this is Bangladesh, and this is Syria, and this is Arab, and this is Africa, and this is a shithole country. We cannot leave anybody behind. And you can start from your home. You can start looking at the people around you. Would you share some sanitizer with them? Would you share some soap with them? If they are not having a face cover, would you give them, एक साड़ी अगर आप फाड़ेंगे तो उसमें से 12 गमछे बन जाते हैं, है ना? उसमें से 12 चुन्नियां बन जाती हैं, 12 दुपट्टे बन जाते हैं. अगर एक चादर आपने फाड़ी तो उसमें से 6-8 उसमें आपके दुपट्टे बन जाते हैं, है ना? Would you do that? Would you sort of go around and see, like, what is that needed, around you, people around you? And that's where, the change is going to happen. I think that's how, so that's my very broad, and, that's my narrow definition of sustainability development goals. I hope I answered your question.
Okay, now I'll request that if more questions are there, that can be directed through mail and through chat box to all the speakers and all the panelists, so that they can reply at length. And keeping the time constant in mind, and having known that all of you are having important preoccupations, so now I will say that we close this question answer session, and I'll hand it over the session to conclude to Pooja.
Yeah, Harshita, you give the instructions for the questions to be handed over later in the chat box. Yeah, so direct them, all the questions.
We'll mail the questions to each of the speaker individually then. Okay.
Yeah, I think that will be good enough.
Yeah,
So,
okay, ma'am.
yeah.
So, Snehanjali,
So,
you can stop presenting.
yeah, stop presenting.
So, Harshita ji and Sangram ji, if you are listening,
Yes, sir.
what I would like to say is that the questions are okay, but if you go back to the chat session, while I was listening to everyone, what I was doing is like in response to what Rajendra Bhai were saying and what Pooja ji was saying, what Savita madam was saying, what Chakravarti sir was talking about. So what I was actually doing is in the background in the chat session, I have put a lot of different links,
Okay.
and they will answer a lot of your questions. And this is actually a very dynamic research, because a lot of these links are dynamically embedded so that they are updated with the latest data, and this is not just me. Like, we have a whole consortium, India, United States, scientists, surgeons, architects, activists, so this is like a cumulative knowledge, which is all in all those links. These are some of the videos also which we are using to train the IAS officers, the IPS officers, which is the Corona command. If you go on my LinkedIn, you can see the Maharashtra government's order in which, in 3 districts, 2,700 villages, we are actually doing the Corona command. Here in New York, but what we are doing is like, we are working with the leadership over here, trying to communicate with them. So what I suggest is go back to the chat and make sure that, some of these links, some of the short stories, you can actually, which are little links which are scattered. There must be at least 10-15 links which I have posted, to share that also with everyone.
Yes, that will be a good idea. We will do that definitely. Now, to wind up the session, on behalf of Daulat Ram College, IQAC, I take the privilege to extend my vote of thanks to all the esteemed participants and panelists. So I would like to thank, on behalf of IQAC, Rajendra Deshpande, Amita Paul, our chair, Dr. Anjan Chakraborty, principal ma'am, Dr. Savita Roy, all the members of advisory board, IQAC, Polymer Bhattacharya, Tilotama Foundation, for providing well-needed support to organize the international webinar. Our volunteers, specifically, I would point out the names here: Harshita, Devanshi, Priyanka, Khushbu, Gurpreet, Trisha, Vasudha, Vibhuti, Aditi, Gul, Snehanjal, Agrima, Samriti, and special word of thanks to Sangram for providing the technical support for the session. Again, on behalf of IQAC, Daulat Ram College, I express our sincere gratitude to our collaborators, Tilotama Foundation and Jadavpur Association International Relations, Jair, Kolkata. Now I hand over the space to Polumi Bhattacharya to give the vote of thanks on behalf of the Tilotama Foundation. Over to Polumi.
Hello. First of all, I would like to thank Daulat Ram College, University of Delhi, Dr. Principal Ma'am, Dr. Savita Roy, for giving us the platform and collaborating with us and doing this great work on sustainable development. And it's very informative for everyone. So, and after all the collaboration partners, Dr. Iman Kullan Lahiri, Secretary, Jadavpur Association of International Relations, and Daulat Ram College. So, really thank you. And our esteemed speakers, guests for today, they are phenomenal. The insights they have given to us is really, really wonderful. Thank you everyone.
Ma'am, some few words finally up. Principal ma'am. I think we end the session now.
Namaste.
Yeah, so
cyber space में मिलेंगे हम लोग. Bye bye.
Just a second.
So we have another session tomorrow. Yeah. So please stand by for that, and then
we would like to announce the next tomorrow at 5 p.m. and we would try to meet there. All right. So 5 p.m. we'll have another session with 3 speakers: Dr. Dipankar Saha, Mohan Kohli from Norway, Professor Mohan Kohli, and Dr. Surbhi. Okay, and this is about, it would be mapping energy, environment, and recycling. So we will meet tomorrow at 5 p.m. for the next session. Thank you so much for being there, all of you.
Yeah, and from my end also, many thanks to Makranji, Rajendraji, as well as Madam Amrita. It's a great session, and it's a great learning process, and possibly we can work together.
Well, I would also like to add thanks to Pooja ma'am for associating, for doing all the hard work, doing all the things for us. And she has done a great job with us. We have done, all of us have worked really hard for this session. Thank you, Pooja ma'am.
Yeah, most welcome, Paulami. It was great working with you.
I know, me too, same experience from you.
Yeah.